Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon edition of Big Brother 22 All-Stars live feed spoilers. This has been a surprisingly more eventful, I would say, day 28 than I was expecting, given who's on the block and who's likely going to be evicted.
Yeah, I'm really shocked that all of this is kind of unraveling the way that it is, and a lot of it doesn't even really have to do with anybody on the block.
Yeah, just like almost nothing to do with Kaysar, almost nothing to do with Christmas, but it is sort of that time-honored tradition of if you leave enough people with nothing to do for long enough, eventually they're gonna get a little bit crazy and they're gonna start throwing things at the wall just because you're bored and you want to do something, right?
Yep.
We'll get into some of what is going on here. Also, kind of update you on the Ian situation that we broke down earlier involving what he has learned. We've got that video for you in the description, as well as ways that you can support us further, by the way. We have our store with shirts and mugs and other cool stuff. And also our Patreon. We do live chats there at the end of every month. And also give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more updates.
So we have a little bit of a Kaysar update, but it's really nothing.
Yeah.
So he was talking to Bayleigh a little bit, and Bayleigh was asking him if he's gonna blow up anybody's game on the way out the door, and he basically was saying that no one's gonna listen to him, and it's totally true. I mean, Kaysar could go out there and be like, I have a seahorse made of gold and it makes me Snoopy-shaped pancakes every Saturday, and people would be
Hold on.
like, is Kaysar talking?
If Kaysar has a Snoopy or like, I had a Snoopy waffle iron when I was a kid. It was the greatest thing that I had ever had in my life.
I would rather have a seahorse made of gold that actually makes me stuff in the kitchen. But the point is, nobody's really going to listen to him. It doesn't matter what he says.
It's funny in a way because it is sort of like, number one, Kaysar's already been doing this for like a week and a half and you people just haven't listened to him at all. Nobody in the house has listened to much of anything that he has said. And number two, what if he has a battle back? Like, why is he gonna risk his whole game? It's just sort of like, I understand where, Bayleigh is thinking with this. Sort of like I understood what Ian and Kevin were saying when they were hoping that Kaysar would do this earlier today. But, because these people don't know that there's a battle back, Kaysar still actually has a game to play even as he heads out the door.
Yeah, he just doesn't know yet.
We know, obviously, that there's probably not a battle back with a big asterisk here because there has been no twist this week.
Nope.
Nothing has happened in the house.
Nope.
I'm just saying I would not be surprised if we find out about something on Thursday. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I agree. I think something's coming up, but I don't know if it's really going to help Kaysar at all. He can go home to his seahorse made of gold.
And the Snoopy pancakes, let's not forget about those.
That's right.
After this conversation was over, it felt like Bayleigh was sort of just disappointed that Kaysar is just sort of like a Debbie Downer right now, and I get it, but it's also sort of like, well, Kaysar, he thinks he's going to be evicted, and he's going to be the third time he's been evicted early in a season, and he's probably just bummed out that everyone thinks he's a crummy Big Brother player, which I love Kaysar, but he kind of is a not good Big Brother player.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have your hopes up when everyone is just telling you you're going home, you're going home, you're going home. Then he's kind of just like, okay, well, I guess nobody wants to hear anything I have to say, which is true.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to wait it out, and Thursday I'll go home, see my family. It's a tough spot to be in.
I almost feel like someone is going to actually have to go to him and, like, light the fire. It's sort of like the reverse of Probst, like, putting out the torch. Somebody needs to light Kaysar's torch at this point.
The problem is I just don't think he's going to be able to stay.
I don't know the way it's going to happen. I don't know the means of it. Every now and then I look at a conversation like Ian and Kevin and I am just like, do it, guys. Your plan to take out the core of Cody and Nicole, or somebody takes out Nicole, would be so much better if he's there, but it's just everyone is still sort of playing the eggshell game where they just don't want to trample on anything.
Yeah, and it makes some sense. I mean, Ian's was kind of in a good spot until now that he's figured stuff out. If this gets out and it gets back to the wrong people, then Ian's in trouble. He needs to have somebody that he's working with in the spot of HOH to be able to make sure that everything is going to be okay. Having Kaysar as a vote is not as important as making sure there's a bit of power around Ian or Kevin going forward.
I will say, this does continue what we talked a little bit about earlier, because as we recorded, Ian and Cody were having a conversation, and if somebody close to Ian can't win HOH, if Ian himself can win HOH, and my feeling is I think Cody is starting to get a little bit cocky. Like, I think he's starting to feel like he's got all of these alliances lined up, everybody is kind of doing what he wants to do. I think he could be vulnerable, and it seems like Ian is starting to really try to punk this guy into thinking that Ian will do whatever he wants if Ian wins HOH.
And here's the thing about it.
Yeah.
Cody is a good player. He is in a good spot.
Yes,
he
he is.
has been sort of having a cakewalk to the end here. Him as a potential winner of the show, he does need to have a little bit of adversity to be able to get to that win and make it feel really like it's worth it. Like we went on a journey with him and not just sort of, oh, I had a big alliance and everybody took care of me and I took care of everybody and we just went to the end with no problems. It's not a very satisfying win for all of us watching.
Yeah.
And it may not be that satisfying of a winning for him either, to just, I didn't have any problems and I just sailed to the end. You know, I don't think he wants to be exactly that kind of winner. So even though all the Cody fans out there, I'm sure, like, oh, Ian, this could be a good thing for Cody because this is something then that he can put on his resume if he actually stays, to say, Ian took the shot at me, he missed, I was able to do this and this and this to get out of it. I mean, that's what makes a good winner to me.
That's what makes great entertainment and great players. Like, if Dan had just waltzed to the end of 14 without Dan's funeral, it wouldn't have the legend that it does. And it's like, this is why I love Tony on Survivor, because it feels like every given week it seems like Tony is on the verge of getting voted off because he's crazy, but he finds a way to make it work, and I think that boosts the legend. I totally do get the people who feel like it's totally unfair that the yeller in the backyard exposed Cody and Nicole being so close.
I'm not gonna lie. I am glad that it shook up the game, but I wish that it hadn't happened that way. I like my big brother a little more pure. I don't like outside influence, so yellers, planes, tennis balls with messages in it. I don't want all of us out here playing unless we're actually part of a twist where we're supposed to be playing. I want to watch the house guests figure it out, like pay attention, figure it out, start to get information. I don't want it to just be handed to them because somebody yelled with a megaphone and was like, hey, by the way, here you go, here's the information. The point of Big Brother is that you are locked in a house and you don't have outside information, and that's what I enjoy about the show.
I'm just so emotionally conflicted because that is what I feel. Like, I don't necessarily like or endorse outside entertainment. Well, I mean outside influence, but here I am getting ahead of myself talking about entertainment. Because it is entertainment. And, I mean, strategy wise and in terms of drama, I'm glad that it happened, but at the same time, I'm not glad that it happened like this. So we're in a weird spot, and Cody and Nicole, they also realize now, oh, we're in a tough spot. They basically have said verbatim, the jig is up. Like, we can't really, they're just in a position where they can't really hide it, and they can joke about it and be like, oh, I'm going to get rid of you if I win HOA. Nobody's going to believe it at this point.
I still can't believe that people didn't think that they were working together or at least friendly with each other. They played together. They already had something, some sort of friendship, some sort of whatever. They at least played together. Why wouldn't they come into the house and be like, oh yeah, okay, I know you, I played with you. The same as when Janelle and Kaysar walked into the house. Oh yeah, those two know each other, they played together, so yeah, they gotta be a pair. Why didn't anybody look at the two of them and be like, well then they must also be a pair, because if it's happening here, it's happening here.
This is where I will give Cody and Nicole some credit. I think they did a good job of sort of getting a particular narrative out there, but I think they also did a good job with other people as well of sort of pointing out Janelle and Kaysar as sort of that obvious duo. Like Ian kept sort of comparing it today to Big Brother 19 when everybody was just sort of sent after Jessica and Cody, that they were like the problem, when in reality the other real problem was like somewhere over here that people weren't looking at.
Yeah.
It's like I've said, I'm not the biggest Cody or Nicole fan in the world, but they are good players, and if you have good players in the game, you got to be creative, you got to be intuitive, and you got to find a way to band together, which is what terrifies me about the idea of Ian and Kevin and Davon and Bayleigh figuring something out.
They really need to figure something out, and but the other thing is it's all going to depend on who wins this next HOH. If Cody wins, if Nicole wins, it just doesn't matter. This other side of the house hasn't won anything, and if you don't win, you can't really make any decisions.
And they're also just doing things, unfortunately, that are playing into the other side's hand sometimes. Like, I know Bayleigh, the Click 6 is sort of a thing, but her telling Cody about how David told Davon that there's an all-guy alliance, like, that only is going to hurt Davon in the end, because Cody can use that to turn David against them further and cause more information. It's like they gotta stop telling Cody or Tyler or these people things that it's gonna lose them the leverage that they need.
Yeah, which is, I said this in the past video, and I'll say it again here, is I just think that Ian and Kevin made a mistake by not figuring out what they were going to do with what they had figured out, because I think this little bit of time that they've had could have been enough to have these proper conversations with Bayleigh, with Davon, build that trust. Even if it was just Kevin just went to Davon and Ian gave the okay to be like, yeah, share everything, let her know we're all in it together, build that trust, that could have stopped some of this stuff from happening, because Davon and Bayleigh, they are very close. So this could have helped bring Bayleigh back and be like, don't tell Cody anything because this is what's happening and we're all on the same page here.
And if Bayleigh and Davon want to share notes with each other about the Ian or Kevin conversations, like that's fine. Like Bayleigh and Ian talked earlier, and Bayleigh and Davon have talked a little bit about some of it, but these next few hours are going to be so important, because if they can keep some of this a secret for now, at least until the next HOH, that could be when you start to see some of the flipping or the drama, or at the very least the adversity that we've been sort of wanting as people who want to see people tested in Big Brother.
Yeah, and I think so far no one has told Cody what they are figuring out. The four of them have kept everything in that foursome right now. If they can continue to maybe just keep having some conversations, it's only Tuesday, keep having the conversations until the next HOH comes up, and then depending on who wins, make a decision from there, because right now there's nothing else that can really be done. Yeah, maybe they can get out Christmas, but I mean, Christmas isn't really a problem for anybody right now.
Here is my big concern. At present, as of this recording, Bayleigh is very annoyed with Kevin, and it's because Kevin, and some of this was off feed, so I don't get the sense of the full conversation, but Kevin was apparently asking her a lot of things about her past, about relationships, about stuff that she may not want to talk about potentially on the feeds, and I don't think he was coming from a bad place. I think he was probably just trying to get to know her and connect with her or whatever else, but I don't think he probably read her reaction to some of these conversations properly, and I don't think Bayleigh's gonna mix personal feelings at the moment with game, especially because Davon and Kevin have been talking, but it's worrisome to say the least.
Yeah, it's just tough because they're all in the house together for a really long time, and when you're really trying to get to know someone, you do ask these questions. Oh, so you're getting married to Swaggy? Tell me a little bit about maybe past relationships. How does that compare to, I don't know what the conversation was, but Kevin's not coming from a place where he's trying to hurt her or drag her or make her feel any sort of way. He is just trying to get to know her. It's just relationships.
Yeah.
They're always tricky when you're diving into somebody's past and you're asking questions, because if you're not with somebody anymore, chances are it didn't go that well, right? So you might not want to talk about it. But on the same hand, talking about something that's personal like relationships can build a bond with somebody.
And I just think in general, Kevin, he's done a better job this past few days, and at least in comparison to the complete dumpster fire that he was at the start of this season.
Your boy Kevin.
Okay, well. I will not live this down watch Kevin win through all of this.
Win, and then we're all gonna take an L.
Then I'll be very conflicted because then I'll like try to claim it, and then people like, you can't claim it because you tried to disown him as a player like a week into this because you were mad at him.
That's why I'm not letting it go for you, just in case.
That tiny sliver of hope. But the problem Kevin faces is clearly he still hasn't gotten his inability to properly read people out of his system yet if he's still slipping up on things like this.
Yeah.
So we'll see where things go throughout the rest of this, but hopefully we will have a dramatic next several hours and we can be back to talk more. But for now, what do you think is going to happen over the next couple of days? Is there any hope for Kaysar? And if not, do you think we could see a house shakeup coming? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, give us a like, to subscribe, and support us further. Check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.